Check, check.
Yeah.
Check, double check. Neil, how we looking? Everything looks good?
Looking
We're
stellar.
live on Santa Cruz Waves right now. Everybody out there is starting to tune in. The count is clicking up. Click, click, click.
Hey, can I buy a skateboard?
Are you guys still open here at the boardroom? No, we're not. You don't know
We
why?
have notes tonight.
We do. Neil, you did notes tonight. The reason we're closed, Congressman Jimmy Panetta, back in the house.
Fourth or fifth time. What's this for?
Oh, I think we're at 4.
I think it could be 4-2, Neil.
Yeah.
5.
5.
And it's good.
Remember, I said to you tonight, when we had a drink before the show, I said, hey, I can't believe this. We turned the show into now a congressman showing up.
Well, considering our, we thought we'd be doing the show for about 3 days,
Yeah.
and here we are 8 years later. Great to have you back, by the way.
Thanks, Steve.
And I
Thanks,
know there's
Neil.
going to be more.
Yeah.
This is
great.
not there with an election coming up.
Trust me, I'd rather be speaking to you guys than a lot of the other people back in Washington, D.C. So it's outstanding to be here. Good to be back in the boardroom. Good to hear about you guys kicking ass, not just on the show, but with this store here. Basically, seeing the amount of people that are just wanting to come in and spend their money here in Santa Cruz, and especially here in the boardroom. That's outstanding.
We're
And
not
Santa
wearing
Cruz
and we're not wearing masks this time.
We aren't wearing masks
We're not wearing
because
masks,
its mandates are up and we're
No, we're
vaccinated.
good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I agree.
Thank goodness.
That's a great question. I know as a retailer here in your district, we've had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
Even with the catastrophe of COVID. How is your district overall? Its health? You would know better than anybody.
Yeah, look, I think obviously the numbers are coming down in regards, the first thing in regards to the health aspect of it. You're not seeing as many infections, everything, it's really just dropping exponentially, just boom, right down, which is a great thing. And it's because around here, I think for the most part, you got people who know that they had to play their part and get vaccinated. And yes, had to wear the mask. I mean, look, wearing the mask sucked. We hated it. But it's how we played our part in getting through this pandemic.
Right.
And we did that pretty well here. In addition to that, I got to tell you, one of the best things that I saw during the pandemic, out of a crappy situation, was that basically we started our own vaccine clinics, especially with the most vulnerable, our farm workers. And so you had a partnership amongst the federal government, our federally qualified healthcare clinics, with our agricultural producers and with the farm workers to basically all come together and get shots in arms for our agricultural workers who were willing to come here and work. Basically, it was our obligation to make sure they were vaccinated, and you saw this kind of process taking place at the Salinas Rodeo grounds. They did it up here in Santa Cruz County. They did it all the way down in King City in southern Monterey County. And basically, it was, living up to our obligation of living in this community and getting shots in arms.
Do we have a better vaccination ratio here in Central California than other places of California?
It was higher. The thing is, I think it was on the high side. I can't give you the exact numbers. I do think it was on the high side. But I think what was most telling is that obviously, as you remember early on, our infection rate, as looking in Monterey County, was pretty high. But once the vaccines came in, you saw, and Delta came around, you actually saw the infection rate at a pretty low level, and I believe that's because we got shots in arms.
And early?
Exactly. So I think that's definitely something to be proud of. But as you know, this was a partnership. It took everybody at all levels, from those essential workers, be it in the hospitals, be it in our agricultural fields, be it to our food banks, to basically all those at the different levels of government who kind of came together and basically made sure that, the strategy that was employed of federally funded, state mandated, locally executed, actually carried out. And so, obviously very, very proud of the work we did. We're emerging out of the pandemic, and basically we're at a point now where, like you said, the economy's feeling pretty good. We know we're all paying high prices right now. We get that, and there's a number of reasons for that. But the fact is that we're in this position right now. You're having people knocking on your doors right now, even with the doors closed and the closed sign up, because basically we're able to get through this pandemic. The American Rescue Plan that we passed in Congress, was basically to the point where it kept the economy afloat. It kept our poverty rate flat, and it really did keep us in the race between injections and infections, and allowed us to deal with these variants, be it Delta or Omicron. That hit us pretty hard, but we got through it.
But we had a Santa Cruz County Health Officer here, Gail Newell, and after Gail, David Gilladucci. And they kind of knew what was going. They kind of knew what was going on. They had it under control. He told us what was going on. He told us what would happen in January. Remember?
Well, I think the great success of Santa Cruz County was, for them, really taking care of business early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but once again, other counties, I mean, look, we're lucky to have people and experts like that. You're right, Neil. But the fact is, other counties had experts too.
Right.
It takes the community coming
sure,
together.
for sure.
And that's what makes me proud to represent this area and be from this area and call this place home, is that we got community members who understand that, yeah, there are times where you have to listen to science. There are times where you have to step up and play your part and get that shot or wear that mask, as uncomfortable as it is. You just have to do it. And I think we did it, and I think we did it with flying colors, and that's why we're in the position we are right now.
Well, and also, luckily, this district's like 76% Democrat, I believe. Not to make it political, but a lot of these districts across the country that didn't have success with vaccination were very red.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately became sort of a political thing, and that must have tortured you during the last couple of years.
It should have tortured every public leader, to be honest with you, because this wasn't a
Political
political
thing.
thing.
It was
It
a
was
health
a
thing.
public health thing, exactly. And so that was tremendously unfortunate. And I do believe it obviously started at the top with the ex-president and the attitude that he had towards COVID, towards vaccines, towards mask wearing. And therefore it kind of transcended down, as we saw, unfortunately. But look, I think, the good thing is that, we have an administration now that understood what it meant to have kind of that wartime mentality and literally go all in. And he did that at first. And you saw it with the vaccines and the distribution of the vaccines that we had. Now, look, there were some issues with the testing once we had Delta and Omicron, and we knew that, heck, you could get the breakthroughs. And therefore, as many vaccines as you got, which were good because they limited the symptoms. Don't get me wrong. You had to do that. We still may have to do that. But the fact is that, you had a president who, it didn't focus on testing as much, neither the ex-president or this president. But you know what? We got it. And let me tell you how many tests I have in my house, how many tests we have around here.
Yeah.
It just took that supply chain getting kicked up. And fortunately, they acted.
Have you ever been positive?
And not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, now I'm going to get it.
I jinxed him.
Are you still enjoying?
Exactly. But look, man. I got the vaccine. I got the 2 rounds of vaccine, and I got my booster.
You did all
And
you
if they're
could do.
offering another booster, I'm going to get that
Me
as well.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
You still enjoy the job? I mean, you're flying back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, red eyes, right? I don't think you're up. I don't think you're sitting up front in first class. You're in the back. You're in the back row. It's a lot of work, and you got the family. You're still enjoying the job.
Definitely. Look, it's
You're steaming. You're steaming in for another go too.
I came in 2017 with the ex-president, and it seemed that once President Biden came in after January 6th, there was sort of a lull where we kind of felt that we could all kind of breathe again. You remember that. And then August hit, and there was the Afghanistan debacle of the withdrawal, and then Delta hit, and then Omicron hit, and now we're dealing with this horrible tragedy, what's going on in Ukraine. And so it's kind of like, here we go again. And it's just been a whirlwind these last few months. But, look, I got to say, I'm pretty proud of the way as an American, as how we're leading on this issue, basically coalescing and bringing together the coalition, the NATO coalition, to support the Ukrainians going forward.
Does Ukraine worry you?
You bet it does.
Nuclear, chemical warfare, and stuff like that. Does that worry you? We're sitting here having Wheaties in the morning. Should I be worried about? Should I be hiding under the chair, under the desk, like we were taught to in school?
Yeah, what worries me is that we're dealing with an autocrat, paranoid
Lunatic.
punk who basically has inflicted the most violent, unprovoked attack on a sovereignty since World War II.
Right.
And I do not see any off-ramps at this point with Putin. Because of the damage and the harm that he's done through this, I believe is an extreme miscalculation on his part, for basically thinking that he was going to go in and the Ukrainians were going to absolutely fold, is that he overestimated his military and he underestimated the resolve, not just of the Ukrainians, but of the United States and NATO. And this is something where I believe that, if he takes an off-ramp now, He's damaged the reputation of his military.
Right.
He's ruined the economy of Russia. He's sullied the reputation of Russia on the world stage. He has basically, tried to live up to the great Russian dictators, but instead he's brought the terror of Stalin. Not just to Ukraine,
Right.
but to his own country.
I wonder what his people think.
Thank you for saying that, because I think this is a big issue, because he lied to them. He didn't prepare them because he
Right.
thought he was going to roll into Ukraine, they were going to fold, and it was going to be over.
Right.
But how is he going to hide the thousands and thousands of body bags that are going to be going back to Russia,
Right.
and those families doing those funerals?
Right.
This is something where, as I see it, this could lead to a war of attrition in two countries. One in Ukraine, in which we have to continue to support Ukraine with aid and armaments, because boy, do they have the will to fight. They just need the armaments to fight. And so we can support Ukraine, not go to war with Russia, but at the same time, make sure the Russian people understand what's going on, and make sure we bleed Russia of the resources to wage war. And that's
Which
happening.
is money.
And that's how you bet. It's money, it's through the economy. It's all of the steps that we took in Congress and this administration took early on to make sure that we have that economic noose around Russia.
There's no winner.
And
No?
so,
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is something where I think people got to realize that unless Putin goes away, this war is not going away. And therefore, our support shouldn't go away. for
Where does
Ukraine.
Putin go? Like, does he go like OJ? Does he get in a white Bronco and hit the highway? Like, where does he go?
Look,
I'd love to see the helicopter following a Bronco.
This is a question not just for Putin; it's a question for the Russian people.
Yeah.
Can I ask your involvement? Your involvement in something like that big? You're involved in Ukraine, or are you more involved in our community, our community's issues?
Oh,
Or is it both?
I'm the representative for the Central Coast.
Right.
Let's make no bones about it.
No.
And I've always. I'm
But
a
how
firm
much
believer,
input? How much
as
input
you
can
know.
you put on the?
Oh, well, look, it's part of my job as well. I mean, I am a United States representative for the Central Coast of California
Right.
in this congressional district here. And so that is my first priority, hands down. But I'm telling you, you guys don't understand how many calls we are getting from our constituents, even right here in Santa Cruz, who, I've been yelled at speaking at Veterans Day events because I supported the National Defense Authorization Act. I can tell you the people here in Santa Cruz want nothing but to support the Ukrainian people.
right.
And they are calling my office. You can ask Emmanuel. They're calling my office every day.
Right.
They're saying, do more for the people of
Right.
Ukraine. Continue to support them. And look, this is the balance that we're going to have to play.
You just
We're
helped out-
going to have to support Ukraine, but we can't go to war with Russia. And that's a balance that this administration has actually been doing a pretty good job at right now.
You
We're
just helped.
focusing into NATO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure that NATO is behind us, and making sure that we reassure our NATO allies that if there is, any sort of attack on a NATO partner, Article 5 of NATO will be invoked, and we will defend them.
You just helped out a Ukrainian family, correct?
Oh, that's funny you say. Yeah, exactly. We had a constituent who is.
I got my right.
Shocked me. I almost fell out of my chair.
How did you know that?
Jeez.
That's good. Good crowd. We had a constituent who had an elderly mother and father
Right.
who were in Kiev, and a disabled brother. And they literally drove their family car to Lviv to get out of Kiev, and then took the train into Poland. And they contacted our office. We then got them the connection to the consulate in Poland. And basically, we're trying to make sure they get an expedited visa for the parents,
Yeah.
and a humanitarian parole for the son,
Very cool.
for the brother. And that's in the works right now.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like I said, these are like you said. I'm a representative for the people here.
Yeah.
And in my role, though, obviously that involves basically making sure the federal government does its job.
Yeah.
And making sure the
But
State
also helping
Department
out
did its job to help this family is
Right.
what it's about.
You're helping out individuals as well.
So they're
Oh,
on their
that's
way.
okay,
They're
yeah.
on their way here.
They're still in Poland. They're waiting to get their visas at this point. And so we're making sure they get expedited visas because of the situation that
Right.
they're in. But that's the job. That's what inspired me to get into this job. And I've said this before on this show. I'm inspired because you can affect people's lives by actually helping them with the federal government and making the federal government work for them on immigration, on Social Security, on IRS, on the Veterans Affairs issues, on military issues. This is what we do. We're that bridge to the federal government back, and let me tell you, you really can affect not just their lives, but their family lives, and then their future here in this community, because that's what you're building on. That's why you asked earlier, am I still enjoying the job? You damn right I am, because there's so much satisfaction out of helping people.
But you got the energy for the job too.
Oh, you gotta have the energy, man. You gotta have the energy.
You're like a freaking energizer bunny.
No, trust me, I'm tired. I got bags. You look at the big bags under my eyes.
Looks like you just pounded a Red Bull or something.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not listening to our show, doesn't he? He's
making notes. Well, and it takes an incredible strength to lobby for the funds it takes to keep this county and your whole region going, right?
That's another part.
You raise a lot of money that comes into this area.
Well, I basically, you got to make sure that the federal government plays its part, and we're lucky to have an administration right now that understands the importance of investing in our future, investing in our communities, and investing in our infrastructure. And so right now, we passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act back in fall of last year. And that was a 1.7 trillion with a T investment in our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our rail, our broadband, our wildfire prevention, water projects.
In our district.
And so,
in the country.
In the country. And we're going to start to see parts of that coming in to our district. But you're right. It takes me banging on the administration, making sure that we get our fair share. That's what I have been doing, and I'll continue to do that as well. We also got some community-funded projects recently.
$4 million for the tannery. You got $4 million for the tannery.
Oh, that was another thing. Exactly. That was through the American Rescue Plan. That was another bill that we passed early in March or May of last year, spring of last year, I'll say, in which, like I said, that's the bill that helped us get us through that pandemic, and is still having effects here locally, like the amount that went to the tannery to help them build back tourism here.
$4 million.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things that you're working on right now?
Top 3 things I'm working on right now. Affordable housing is number 1. Because we all know that's an issue here. And look, and it's not just an issue in Santa Cruz. It's not just an issue on the Central Coast. It's literally from Seattle to San Diego. And obviously that there's a number of complexities that go into why someone is in the position they are in that situation of being houseless. And unfortunately, there's no silver bullet because of that. What we can do, the role we can do... Is
silver bullet another word for solution? Like there's no solution.
No, there's no one solution. Right. That's the problem, because it's so complex and people have a myriad of different reasons as to why they're on the street. There's just not one solution, but it doesn't mean you just throw your hands up. And as normally this used to be a local issue, this is sort of an all hands on deck issue, as I say it. And so you're hearing the federal government talk about homelessness. You're hearing the federal government get involved when it comes to affordable housing and workforce housing. Being on the Ways and Means Committee, one of the things we can do is we have the tax code. So we can adjust the tax code to make sure that there's more tax credit for developers to build affordable housing. And we've done that in my time in Congress, upping the 9% tax credits by 12%. In the Build Back Better Act, another bill that passed out of the House, is sitting in the Senate right now, being negotiated upon. We're upping the 9% tax credits by 15%. To make sure that there's more affordable housing, make sure there's the will of developers to build that affordable housing. However, we can provide as many tax credits as we want. It's up to the locals to allow that type of development in their community. So we're doing everything we can. I introduced a bill for first-time homebuyers tax credit. When I bought my house back in 2003, I got that federal tax credit at the end of the year. They got rid of that in 2007. I want to reinstitute that because look, around here, we know it's tough. It's very expensive. It's ridiculously expensive.
And I was going to say,
we do think that at least you got to do everything you can to at least provide some benefit, including a tax credit at the end of the year if you're a first-time home buyer. And then in homelessness, look, at the federal government, I've brought in over $100 million to the Central Coast for homeless programs and housing programs in my limited time in Congress. And that's something we got to continue to do. But once again, we can provide the funding. What are we doing locally to make sure that funding gets to the proper resources?
There's a Dientes Health Center. That Health Center is going in right over here, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're involved with a little bit.
Definitely. That's
Right.
one of the community-funded projects that we got, where we got $1 million
Right.
to help fund that amazing affordable housing and healthcare clinic there for Dientes. Something that has done a real good job here, kind of one of the cornerstones of this community, or becoming one of them. In regards to providing things, we need a lot here, and that's our healthcare, our dental care, and yes, affordable housing. So it's
And
great.
affordable is a funny question though, because it's
Yeah.
still not affordable.
Yeah, it's
You know,
funny,
it's-
and I'll be honest. People are saying affordable or workforce housing. What's the key word? And
Yeah.
I get it. You
Yeah,
know, it's all
it's
relative.
20%
It's
below
all
market or
relative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is affordable housing around here? Look, I think it's all relative. The fact is that we got to be doing more to make sure that whatever definition you use, people can have homes.
I think it's most importantly is mental health and rehabilitation. Is the two things that I see this
This is
county
another
needs,
aspect of it.
or the country needs the most.
You bet.
And then to rope in what the pharmaceutical companies have destroyed.
Yeah.
We had Donna Myers. We had Donna Myers when she was
Oh,
mayor,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
And she sat in that chair
Yeah.
there and said, "You know, Neil." We asked about homelessness, of course, right? Because that's the top three things.
Her answer?
Here we go. Her answer is, "You know what? I can't do shit.
No, she said no money.
I got no dough.
Yeah.
I got no money.
Yeah.
I can't do anything with any money. I can't do anything. I don't have any money."
Well, that's why we've brought in money. Money has been spent. We need to continue focusing, making sure that there is that. Look, that's my role at the federal level, to make sure the funding's there.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to do that, so that people, excellent public servants like Donna Myers, can at least have the resources.
Well, we have great weather.
necessary.
I mean, your district is the prime spot for people from all over the country.
But it's the West
They're all,
Coast.
Let's hit it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the West Coast, and that's why homelessness is literally a problem from Seattle to San Diego, like I said. And we just hope that we get to a point where we can at least make a dent in this issue.
Is your dad still an influence on you?
Always, yeah.
Always, right?
No, I'm fortunate enough that he and my mom are still around and still
Yeah.
working away, and you bet, yeah.
Is he a phone a friend? Is there ever a time you're like, Dad,
Yeah,
help me
no,
out on this
look,
one?
oh, dude, I'd be remiss if I didn't take advantage
got to.
of that.
I
I mean, I don't do it all the time, but let me tell you bet there are times
Yeah.
I'll pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I got this thing going on. What's your thoughts on this?"
Right,
You
right.
bet. I'd be stupid not to, man.
Well, and I think to the people that are going to be in an election and have to vote for a congressional seat here in this district, wow, what a great phone a friend. It's like, my goodness. I'd love to see who's going to be running against you, who their phone a friend is.
Well,
So, Congressman, you're going to
but
be.
look, let me make one clear. I mean, I've also, you grow up, ever since I was in second grade, he was in Congress back then. We always did our best to get out from that shadow and make sure that people know me, not just by my last name, but by my first name. And I'm continuing to do that.
Your record speaks for itself.
Yeah, well, you would hope
You
so.
know,
on your own.
Well, like I've learned, you can never just, you don't live his life, you live your own life, and
Right.
you make sure people know that.
Congressman, second term. And what's the next? Third term.
Third term. Yep, third term.
Where are we
going
going
on,
after?
going on 6 years.
Where's the next? What's the next step after? What's the next step up the ladder?
Fourth term.
Fourth term.
Higher
Fourth term.
aspirations.
Yeah, fourth term in Congress.
Sure.
Look. What I've learned, and I truly believe this, and I tell interns in my office this, is that when you start thinking about something bigger and better, you lose focus on the job.
True.
And you just do your job, you do it well, things will happen.
Right.
And that's what like I said, that's what I tell interns, that's what I tell staff assistants who just start off. Like, if you're a good staff assistant, then I know you're going to be a good legislative correspondent. You're a good legislative correspondent. You'll be a good legislative assistant. I mean, you got to do your job
He's
and
still
do
got a
it
job.
well. Yeah, and he's moved up. He's now my Santa Cruz manager
He's
because he's doing a good job. That's right, Manuel Garcia.
The most popular question, I guess, that you get asked that you hate is.
Oh,
I wouldn't say hate, like,
the one that weighs on me is, what you asked me. Have you seen your family recently? To be honest with you,
Right.
because it is tough. Like you
Yeah.
said, there's a lot of travel, and even when I am in the district, I'm not sitting at home. I'm out and about in the district, and so. But my attitude and the way I learned this job is: you don't take this job to make your family better. You do this job to make other families better. And that takes a lot of sacrifice on your part, on your family's part. And I'm just lucky enough that I have an amazing wife who's also a judge, and I have 2 daughters who take after their mother, thank God, and they're just kicking ass.
Yeah,
So I'm really lucky that there's that stability on the home front that allows me to get out and about and get into the district and not spend as much time as I should with my family.
Your wife's an expert on right and wrong. Does that ever play
Don't
into
tell
your
her that.
personal
Man,
life?
don't say that.
I mean,
Don't tell her that.
Does she ever call you out like, hey, dude?
That's why I married her.
Rope it in.
I married her because she makes me a better man. There's no doubt about that. She's the type that, I grew up in, with 2 older brothers and a pretty strong paternal figure. So obviously I'm used, and a very, very strong mother, if you know my mom. So I'm used to people who can, basically tell me what they're thinking.
Remember I told you that story about Fred Keeley? Remember I told you that story?
Oh,
About
which one about Fred?
Fred
There's
Keeley.
a lot of
No,
Fred.
Fred
And I'm going to be
Keeley.
talking to his class tomorrow, so tell me again.
This is it. When
Yeah.
you were coming on the show for the first time, I was
Yeah.
downtown, and Fred Keeley, I saw Fred Keeley by Bookshop Santa Cruz. You know how well he's dressed. Velvet jacket, right? Looks like $1 million.
Exactly.
I see Fred. I go, Fred, come up here. I go, hey, Fred, I have Jimmy Panetta coming on the show. Can you give me like a little tidbit? Something that would be unusual. He thought about it, and he looks at his phone. He goes, Neil, you see my phone? I go, yeah. He goes, I have 10,000 contacts in my phone. He goes, let me tell you something. Everybody gets voicemail except one. Like, no shit. I
Who's
go,
that?
Jimmy Panetta? He goes, hell no. I go, Leon Panetta. He goes, Sylvia Panetta. When she
That's
calls,
right.
he's like, when she calls, is where do I have to be?
Yeah.
When I gotta go?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
What can I do to help
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Right.
Welcome to my life, man. Welcome to my
Jeez.
life.
Right.
That's right. That's right. But it's,
And I never forget when I went down with Guy Kawasaki to interview your dad.
yeah.
And then your mom was at the institute. She was hovering. She wasn't very far away. She was like a busy bee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, that's the partnership that they had. And I do believe that contributed to my dad's success when,
Sure.
when he was a young member of Congress. She was his volunteer district director.
Mm-hmm.
So they really had a partnership. And trust me, people who in this district at that time understood that well.
Thanksgiving and Christmas is going to be one hell of a dinner. I would love to be at that table.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Look, we're going to have our conversations based on where we're at in our lives. But growing up, my parents did a great job not bringing politics to the table, for better or for worse, to be honest with you, because they didn't want myself and my 2 older brothers. They didn't want us to live their life. They wanted us to live our own lives. And my parents were 70s parents, man.
Yeah.
We kind of did whatever we wanted. They were too busy working, too busy serving the constituents of this
Right.
district, where we kind of like got to
You
do
and
what
your
we
brothers must
want.
have had a
I mean,
field day.
yeah, I mean, we, fortunately we found athletics.
Right.
So that was what we, it delved into. But it's also why, look, in high school we didn't focus on academics, and that's why all 3 of us went to the local community college.
Yeah.
We're all, Lobos. We all went to MPC.
Yeah.
And do you do that in your life now? Do you go home and after you have dinner, then try not to talk about work?
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, if and my daughters understand that, but if, obviously Carrie and I will have a conversation, and let me tell you, I mean, what influenced me is not the discussions, but I guess being around it and obviously seeing it. And what influenced me the most was not what we talked about at the kitchen table, but when I got outside the house, and to this day, people come up to me and say, I was visiting Martinelli's apple cider.
Yeah.
Down there in Watsonville, the production facility. And I pull up in my car, and I get out of my car, and there's this gentleman, a Filipino gentleman, and he's sitting there, and I can see him, you develop a perception
Right.
in my life and in this job, and you see, okay, people are looking, this guy's tracking me, what's going on here? And he comes right up to me, I'm like, oh, what's going on? He's like, Mr. Panetta, yeah, what's going on? He's like, I knew you were coming today, I just wanted to say thank you. Because I was in the Philippines 20 years ago. And no, excuse me, it was like 40 years ago. I was in the Philippines 40 years ago, and I was having a hard time coming here. My family was already here, and I was not. And they contacted your dad's office. And let me tell you, that's why I'm here today. And that's
Wow.
why I have my family here today, and that's why I've continued to work at this place, because of what your dad did for me. So
Yeah.
please tell him thank you.
Yeah.
But those are the types of stories, I'm telling you, that's what inspired me to get in this job.
Right.
And now I'm hearing about the stories of the good work that people like Emmanuel are doing for constituents, basically helping them out with those personal
He's getting
issues.
yelled at. He's getting yelled at.
Of course he is. Well, we get yelled at all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Well,
not going to
and-
please everybody.
No.
And that's part of the job.
Yeah.
And maybe one of your daughters will run for office, and there's going to be a Ukrainian who says, "Your dad got me in this country." You know,
I hope whoever is in this position at any time understands the value of
But I know
constituent
you know,
services.
we know
I
you're
can't
not
stress that
looking. We
enough.
know you're not looking for credit. So
No, I mean, and look, I think it's funny because my daughters are the type that they're just grinding right now. They're getting good grades. They're playing sports. They play piano.
Yeah.
They just kind of grind. I mean, someone asked me the other day, "Do your daughters have any causes?" I'm like, "Yeah, getting good grades and succeeding in high school and going on to a 4-year." That's their focus right now. They're really building that foundation,
Right.
and they'll continue to do that, and they'll figure out whatever, just like my brothers and I did. We'll figure it out.
right.
As long as we got the foundation to go forward and the moral compass to give us some sort of direction on which
Yeah.
way to go.
I think people-
despite it, going on left and right a few times in my life, which I think we can all understand it happens.
I'd like to invite people to your Facebook page or just check out what you're doing, because people can see what you're doing. Not to even call you or ask
Yeah.
you what the hell you're
Yeah.
doing. People can see what you're doing on your Facebook page. You're all over the map. I did my notes today.
Well, you
go here, you're over there, you're
Google
over there.
Jimmy Panetta, and everything's there.
But just you can tell you're busy and you're working hard,
Yeah.
working your ass off.
Well, that's how
You
I
know?
learned how to get stuff done.
So,
You better be. And you have to in this job. And the great thing is, look, we got a lot of public servants around here who
lot,
are
yeah.
stellar.
Right.
I mean, John Laird, Fred Keeley,
Right.
Donna Myers,
Right.
Ryan Coonerty, Zach Friend. I mean, you name it. You really have some legislators here who understand what it takes to serve this constituency. And you know why? Because our constituency demands it. And they're not going to settle for anything less.
No.
We got
Not
a
in this
long
town.
tradition here of public servants who have really held that torch high. And I just feel honored that not only am I in this position to try to hold that torch, but hold it with other people like
Right.
that. And that's what we do here. We got good partnerships.
You got a good team.
Yeah, we really do. The
Right.
legislators here at the state level, at the county level, at the city level, they know what it
And I
means to
think
serve
we
the
take it
Central
for
Coast.
granted. We're going through our daily lives, right, TC? You
Absolutely.
operate the store, and I
Yeah.
do my thing, and people who we surf with or hang out with, they take it for granted. But it takes a lot of machinery to move to make this community run.
Yeah.
Or to see
Right.
your daily calendar planner, like I'm sure it's just filled up every
Oh,
day. I
yeah.
know you have an appointment right after this.
Yeah.
And talk
Talk
about
front row seats of the Warrior game.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I'd say-
But real quick with fundraising, I know you have we're election time.
That's right.
You're fundraising,
Yeah, exactly.
and can people
definitely.
help you out if they
You
think
bet.
you're the man?
Of course. JimmyPanetta.com, and it always means a lot to have people to donate to the campaign, and anything to let them feel that they're a part of this effort, and that's what does it. So I appreciate any sort of support that people feel like they want to provide, but look, that's to me. My attitude is it's. People always say, "Oh, are you gearing up for campaign season?" No, I don't gear up for campaign. I'm at one speed. I'm always,
Always going.
always going. And I don't like that phrase, gearing up. I don't gear up. I always just go.
Right.
And that's kind of, if I do the job, hopefully that's what people see, and that's what
Right.
gets me elected. Now, don't get me wrong. The fundraising, you got to do that, and we do that because you got to have the resources to get out and about and to get your name out there, especially with redistricting that just happened. And so, we got some new parts of the district from South San Jose up over here to northern Santa Cruz County is new as well. And then down the coast to Monterey, all the way to San Luis Obispo County. That's the new 19th Congressional District. So we're working hard to get out and about there and let people know my name. And that's why I really appreciate this opportunity to come on your show.
Hit the streets out in those new areas?
Oh, yeah, we knocked on doors in Atascadero recently, and then up in San Jose. Emmanuel and I were volunteering.
That's my brother's district. He runs a skateboard park in Atascadero.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good.
he's Kevin. He's like the mayor down there. I'll introduce you guys.
Yeah, that'd be
he
great.
could be a
That'd be
great
great.
source for
But
you.
we're gonna get you. Here's how we're gonna get you reelected. You ready? Your socks suck, dude.
Oh, yeah, we got to upgrade
got-
that.
The merge fours.
We got some
man.
merge fours,
I
dude.
love the merge
He's like-
fours. Do it.
What do you
Trust me.
get? We guys,
I don't know. I don't know
We'll
what he
open
got.
it, but Look,
Trust me.
Cindy got this.
Oh, yeah,
That's a Merge 4 gift
Yeah, yeah.
bag.
And it's less than $10. Thank you.
You
Thank
less than
you.
10 bucks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Way
Thank
less than
you.
$10.
You get a
Like
pair of socks.
$4.50.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
But thanks for
Exactly.
coming. Putting that back because it's good to hide. There we go. Put that back up.
Okay.
We know you got to go. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, this is great. Always good. Always
You're
great
always
talking to you.
welcome.
Look, thanks for what you guys do for the community. Seriously.
We have a good
This
time.
store's an institution. It's a cornerstone for this community,
Yeah.
not just here in Capitola, but in SoCal, but also in Santa Cruz
Yeah.
and the Central Coast. Really appreciate what
Yeah,
you
and your
guys
team's
do.
great. Aaron's great. She's a sweetheart.
I agree.
She keeps me in line.
I got you and me both.
But she doesn't forget stuff. Like she never like. She goes, Neil, it's like it's last November. I'll call you
Yeah.
next year.
No.
And she did.
called.
Yep.
And she called.
Exactly. I got good staff, and I'm lucky
Yeah.
to have that. And obviously, like I said, I couldn't do this myself.
Yeah.
Lucky to have good staff, lucky to have a great community, and look forward to continuing my service with all that help that I have. But once again,
Well,
thanks to
I
both
want
of
to
you.
say
Thank
thank
you.
you for what you're doing. And people in the district who want to learn more, you can go to the websites and see the monies that you've raised going back to our community and how hard you're fighting for the success.
Panetta.house.gov.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's
I
great.
appreciate
And so,
that.
everybody, thanks for tuning in. Jimmy Panetta, Congressman, our number one
And
dude,
our friend.
a
That's
friend
right.
of the show. Please, you guys, check him out. Learn for yourself what makes him your candidate. If you do see that, I do. Thank you very much. Next week, Neil, what do we got?
I forget.
We got big shows coming up. We do. Nelly? No, Jimbo.
Jimbo's next week.
Jimbo Phillips is next week, everybody.
Jimbo.
That's going to be awesome. Thanks again for tuning in. T Fox, Santa Cruz Waves. Neil, off the Brave Show. Good night.